Hello, hello. Bringing you another story on a wrongful conviction of a Kansas man, and he will get a 7.5 million payout. Now, this the actually conviction took place quite some time ago, but however, and actually he was released from prison in 2015 after DNA evidence showed he could not have been the killer of a 14-year-old Camille Arfman in Oskaloosa. However, this is an updated story because he is now going to receive a 7.5 million payment from this wrongful conviction. So it took some years, and that's one of the things too about a lot of these settlements. They don't come right away. They have to go back to court and they have to fight, file a claim, get, probably get legal counsel to file these cases against these, excuse me, police departments and counties because of these wrongful convictions that they have endured. And so, with that being said, he spent 16 years in prison for, rape and murder he didn't commit. Uh, and it's from the county where he was arrested and convicted of the crime. Now, Jefferson County commissioners approved the settlement last week with Floyd Bledsoe, who was released from prison, as I stated, in 2015 after the DNA evidence showed he could not have been the person that did this. So he will receive 1.5 million initially. They're going to give him 1.5 million initially, and then the rest will be paid over the next 10 years. So they are obligated, according to the lawsuit settlement agreement, to pay him the rest of the money, excuse me, over the next 10 years. But he will get 1.5 million up front, right? And he has to pay his attorney. So we don't know how much really that the attorneys is going to get out of that. Usually it's a third, but we don't really know. And so he is now 46 years old. And at the time he was 23 when he was convicted in 2000, the year 2000 of, killing the girl. Now he was arrested even though his brother Tom confessed to the killing in 1999, turned himself in and led authorities to the girl's body. Now this is the really interesting thing right here, is that his brother confessed to the crime, even led them to where the body of the victim was, the 14-year-old's body, but yet and still, they still went back after Floyd. And it says, according to a lawsuit Floyd Bledsoe filed in 2016, so a year later, he after he was vacated in 2015, he filed a lawsuit. In Jefferson County, he says Jefferson County authorities persuaded Tom, his brother, to recant his confession and frame his brother by hiding evidence of his innocence. So in 2015, DNA testing revealed Tom Bledsoe was the likely source of sperm found in the victim. Tom Bledsoe died by suicide that year after writing a note, again confessing to killing Arfman. So this is what we see a lot of times when you read these articles and you go back and you read them over again, you study them, is that these prosecutors and and officers will coerce people into, it could be witnesses or others. Like in this case, it was this man's brother, Mr. Floyd Bledsoe's brother Tom. He coerced the brother, even though the brother came forward and said he did it, and then they coerced him, and him recanting his story and saying that the brother Floyd did it, and they convicted Floyd, although they already had the evidence. And also another thing is that the brother wrote a note that same year saying that he still did it. He confessed, yes, I did it. He wrote a note this time. It's in writing. And that's the sad thing that we're seeing, is all of this corruption in the judicial system when it comes to these wrongful conviction cases. And so, so eventually the charges against Floyd Bledsoe were dismissed and he was freed from prison that year. And when you look at these stories, it's really sad to keep hearing about stories where there's so much corruption to prosecute people, to win convictions. And in this case, there was someone that had already admitted to the crimes, had already admitted to harming the victim. You see what I'm saying? And they still wanted it to be someone else. Now, I don't know the reason Why they wanted it to be Floyd, who knows? You know, it could be numerous of reasons, or maybe they're just these demonic, distorted, you know, wicked, evil people. Hey, you know, we don't know why they wanted it to be Floyd, when in fact they already had the suspect. They already had the suspect, but they decided to coerce the suspect in changing their statement, and and then recanting the statement, and framing his own brother. And that's probably why, and allegedly, I will say, probably why the brother took his own life by suicide, because he went along with it. He allowed them to coerce him into changing his story. And a lot of times when they're in there, they're under pressure, and he somehow changed his story. He was coerced to do it, and he died by suicide that same year. And it's really sad that a life, not only one life, but 2 lives was taken, because this man took someone else's life, but he took his own life based on what the prosecutors were doing. And I'm not saying that, what I'm saying is that he didn't even get a chance to spend time behind bars for the crimes. Tom Bledsoe, he didn't get to spend, time behind bars for a crime he actually did commit, but then he took his own life. And what was the reason why he took his own life? That's what I'm talking about. I'm not saying that, I'm not saying that, I feel sorry for him in that way. I'm not saying that. So, but what I am saying is that why should he have had to take his own life, because of what the prosecutors and what they were doing. That's really sad. The DA, I will say that. And he should have been in prison serving time for the crimes he committed, not taking his own life. And that's what I'm trying to, the difference here is that he shouldn't have took his own life. He should be behind bars, spending time behind bars for what he did, not taking his own life, because you have prosecutors, the authorities persuading, a suspect that actually committed the crime, that confessed to it, that even led them to the evidence, and then they coerced him and persuaded him to change his story, recant his confession, and then frame his brother by hiding evidence of his innocence. That's some really sad stuff right there, and that's what I mean by Tom in committing suicide. He shouldn't have had to commit suicide. He should not have been coerced and persuaded to recant his story and then frame his brother by planting evidence and then taking his own life. He did all of that, and he couldn't live with himself for what he did because he knew it was wrong. But who was also involved in that? The authorities. The authorities. So his life is gone. He never got to serve time and be punished. And maybe that was punishment enough. I don't know. And then you have the victim, 14 years of age, that her life was taken. And I'm trying to separate this because I don't want people to get the wrong idea that I'm feeling sorry for Tom Bledsoe. But what I'm saying is that it's like, what were the factors that led him to suicide? There should not have been any factors that would lead him to suicide unless it was on his own accord. You know what I'm saying? And so he never got a chance to serve time because he took his own life. When in fact he should be serving time, or whenever, he should have been behind those bars. But he shouldn't have had help in taking his own life. When I say that, I'm talking about the fact of they used him, they coerced him, they persuaded him, and he fell for it. And no telling what type of pressure he was under. And then the fact that he has a brother that he did that to that was innocent, and his brother was the one that served time behind bars. And he knew his brother was being convicted, going to trial and being convicted of a crime that he didn't commit, because he recanted and changed his story and was persuaded by the authorities. This is a mess right here. This is a very serious mess right here. And this is what we're seeing again: wrongful convictions, and convictions being funded by taxpayers' dollars. And so the charges against Floyd Bledsoe were eventually dismissed and he was freed from prison that year. But one of Bledsoe's attorneys, Russell Ainsworth, Levy and Loby in Chicago, said Jefferson County was facing up to $40 million in liability if the case went to trial. So Jefferson County Commissioner Richard Mom said the county's annual budget is about $20 million, and the commission would have had to propose a bond if Bledsoe had not agreed to have the payment spread over 10 years. And in 2019, the state agreed to pay Bledsoe $1.3 million under a mistaken conviction law. Was that really a mistaken conviction law? When they already knew that it's like, did they make mistakes intentionally? Or were they intentional? Well, they knew who the suspect was. They knew who the suspect was. So what was the reason for all of that? They knew who the suspect was. Sad. It's a sad situation. They knew who the suspect was, and this is the results of what they did. And so now, Floyd Bledsoe will be receiving a $7.5 million payment from his wrongful conviction. So you all, what do you make of that? I'd like to hear your comments on the fact is that the brother was persuaded, coerced into changing his story, and he took his own life in the midst of all of that, knowing that he had a brother that was innocent, knowing that he originally committed the crime, as he stated before. He led them to the body, but he took his own life. He committed suicide based on everything that transpired with the authorities and things like that. What do you make of that? Because like I said, I'm looking at two different things here. I'm looking at the victim that he murdered, but I'm also looking at the fact that he took his own life because of the circumstances surrounding, the authorities. What do you make of that? Because you really wind up having one victim here that he deliberately, intentionally, harmed, and then you have him becoming a victim of suicide. What do you make of that? So let me know what you all think in the comments. It's just crazy. This is I've never seen that particular situation where you murder someone and then the authorities are involved in in the decision you make to take your own life. I've seen where, we know about cases where the suspect murders someone, harms someone, and then they take their own life because they take their own life. But then you have, in this case, you have the authorities, and I believe they had something to do with this man's suicide. I do believe that, just based on what they're saying, is that because they, after he had admitted to it, then and led them to the body, then he turns around and they coerce him and persuade him to, to recant his story and to plant evidence. You know what I'm saying? And with all of that he did, this was against his flesh and blood brother, knowing that his brother Floyd was innocent, and then he took his own life. So what do y'all make of all of that? Let me know. And if I've missed anything, or if something, let me know what you think about this. Leave your comments below. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up, on this video. And if you're not a subscriber to the channel, please subscribe to the channel, as again, I cover many different topics, but also, these wrongful convictions, because I want to let people know that these wrong convictions really, it takes away from taxpayers' dollars, because taxpayers' dollars are being used to fund these cases and these wrongful convictions, and then to even house the inmate. So it takes money to do all of that. And so this is taxpayers' money. So you all leave your comments below. Let me know what you think. Thank you all for tuning in. God bless you all.